Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ready, Aim, Retire. I'm Rob Kirvan, along with Tony Shore, as usual. This is the show where we talk about your retirement planning, the build-up, the going through, the legacy planning, everything kind of in between. Tony, I have to tell you, this is our last show of 2024, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it is. And
Little
it's been
tear.
quite a year. It's been
Little
quite a year.
tear.
Yeah, a little tear. I liked the one we did last week. So people will be able to hear that one. But that was me and you talking about our favorite Christmas
movies.
which Tony had mentioned at the time, a movie, and I'm going to highly recommend this. So you'll have to listen to the show to find my top 3, top 5. But this one I had never watched. It was called Love Actually, and Tony recommended it. I didn't take his recommendation. I actually had to go talk to some other people just to make sure, because it sounded like that doesn't sound like a Christmas movie. Watched it last night by myself. Natalie wasn't even there. She was out doing her thing, like shopping. It's Christmas time. And I loved it. And then this morning, Katie came in the office and I said, Katie, have you ever seen a movie called Love Actually? She's like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite movie. I'm like, it might be mine too. I don't know yet. I got to watch it a second time, but that thing is moving up the ladder. Thought it was a great one. It's a great, a reflection on life. It's kind of like, that's what I got out of it. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of love out there. There's a lot of hate out there, but there's definitely a lot of love out there. And oh man, I'm tearing up just even thinking about watching that again.
What I picture, what's hilarious is when I recommended that movie to you, Love Actually isn't one where, especially if you're married, where I picture you going home and watching it alone without your wife, because it's a romantic. Here's Rob watching alone on the couch, just tears flowing at the end of the movie. No, it's one of my wife's favorite movies. I absolutely love it. Now I'm more drawn to comedies like a Christmas, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, as
100%.
we talked about last week. Yeah. But Love Actually is such a good movie and so well done. And it really shows the different types of people. We all have our issues, but love actually matters and can change things and change hearts. And so it's a great message.
It is.
But it's not done in a trite way. It's not done in a trite way. It's a good quality story, good acting. I mean, some of the actors in it were phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they were all top notch. It was, I thought it was good all around. Hopefully we were getting some residuals on this pump up of Love Actually. I'm not sure how that works, but hopefully we do. Maybe we can put a hashtag on this show of Love Actually, see what happens, get a buzz out there. But anyways, onward and upward, Tony. What we're going to talk about today is the 2024, kind of what happened going forward. And I think we have to start right here. So as we record this, we're recording this on December 19th. Actually, a day after my sister-in-law's 50th birthday, so she had a big one yesterday. So,
wow.
But yesterday, also on her birthday, Tony, the Dow recorded it's a record 11 days straight in the red. So that was the longest streak since 1974 that it's gone 11 days in the wrong direction. And since December 4th, it's down like right around 5%. So it's not even it's not like it's free falling. It's just kind of chipping away every single day. And the S&P 500, although it's had some up days in there, it's down around 3.5% in the same time period. So yesterday was a big, big down day. It was, like carnage. Like, there's, one of the indices, it hadn't been down like that since 2022, on a single day. Like it was a big, big down day. And the reason is, or part of the reason is, there's a lot of things when a market is trending downward, usually you need a big flush out, to turn the corner to the other side. That was certainly a big flush out. Some things were down 15% yesterday. But what happened yesterday, folks, is the Federal Reserve came out. 95% of every analyst on Wall Street predicted they would drop the rate by 25 basis points, or 0.25 of 1%, their overnight lending rate. They did. So you would think, well, they did what the market told them to do, and then it's fine. But then what happens is they always speak afterwards, Tony.
They always have to open their mouths, and
they do. And every time they do, there's guys like me sit there and you're just kind of like, oh gosh, don't say anything, that, in the wrong direction. Well, they did. So yesterday, what they did is they said, you know what? We're probably not going to, or we're projecting that we're going to cut rates twice next year. So again, every analyst on Wall Street and most people, most market watchers had it at between 3 and 4 times. So that really shocked the markets. And it was very unexpected. But I look at that and I say to myself, well, if they only have to do that, Tony, doesn't that mean our economy's strong?
It does.
Right. It doesn't mean we're in good shape. Doesn't it mean people are spending, people are able to do the things that they want to do. And that's what it tells you. I saw a thing online where Canada had dropped theirs again, and people were rejoicing, saying, "Oh my God, yeah, we've dropped the most of any G7 nation." It's just like, you don't want that record. You don't want the record of the people that are dropping and dropping and dropping, because that means your economy is not good, and Canada's is not.
Because dropping rates is in reaction to a problem. So if the Fed needed to drop it 5 or 6 times next year, even 4, that would mean we were still having issues with our economy, and they're still trying to correct. Yeah. But if they stay the course and don't feel like they're going to need to drop it very much, that's a positive. So I like your take on that, and I think you're right on. But again, if somebody sneezes in China, it can affect our markets. I mean, and that's the thing. But it's more short term than actual. Like if when the earnings reports comes out, that's more reality, because it's how the companies in the stock market are actually doing, and that should drive the stock price and will long term make more of a difference, right?
Right. And if the company's doing well, their stock goes up. If the company's not doing well, their stock goes down. It's very binary, but again, it's like one of those things where it's a short-term shock to the market. And then the other thing I would say was coupled with that, Tony, currently, is we have this debt ceiling issue that, for whatever reason, it comes to the 11th hour. The 11th hour is tomorrow. So this has to be,
and Trump and Musk told the Republicans not to pass the bipartisan budget bill that would have solved this issue. Well, or at least, solved some issues, or might have created others
down the road a little bit. Right. So,
yeah.
And it seems like we do this, a couple times a year.
Yep.
It's borderline ridiculous to me. It seems like it's designed for, negotiation of getting my stuff into this budget, and maybe that's the ultimate design, but it does cause angst. If we go through that tomorrow, markets will not be, positive, and we're at this point right now, Tony, where we normally get this nice little rush into Christmas, very historical, that, the 5 days leading up is usually very, very positive. And especially coming off a downdraft of 11 days with the Dow.
They call it the Santa rally, right?
They call it the Santa rally. Exactly.
Yeah. I love that.
Any special effects on that, Tony, for the Santa?
You know what? I don't really.
Oh my God!
I thought I had the jingle bells.
Like, I thought I had the Tony would have came in with like a sleigh or a Santa saying ho ho ho, but not today. He hasn't had his 7th coffee yet.
No, I haven't. But and another thing is, it really hit the fan, so to speak, yesterday with the big market drop. And one stat I heard this morning about what happened yesterday is not only were the markets down and down quite a bit, some dropped faster than they have since the 70s, things like that. But the volatility index hit its second. It spiked and hit its second highest peak since its existence. It's only went up that much one other time.
Well, when you see things like the small cap index down like 4.5%, everything else down 2, 3, 4%, like that's massive. It was over $1 trillion that came out of the market yesterday. So that it's pretty incredible.
Which is odd, right?
It is odd. It's odd that really Powell's words kind of drove it over the edge, which is kind of like. But a lot of that too, you have to understand, is there's a lot of algorithmic trading that is keyed in on that speech, and if he says certain things, it's a sell, and then they'll reset in the morning, so which we saw this morning, so this
Yeah, we
morning,
saw stocks back up for a
yeah,
while this morning. Now
yeah,
they might drop again
they
before
might
the
be
end of
negative
the
by the end of the
day,
day. Yeah,
but they spiked up a little bit. There were upticks this morning. So
totally. And then you have to look at the other side of it. When I looked at the numbers after yesterday, the Dow's still up just over 12% year to date. The S&P 500 just over 23%. So
wow.
for all intents, it's a very good year in the market.
Yeah, I mean, when you're still up, even after yesterday, over 20%. I
right,
mean, the S&P, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's
and that's very
fantastic.
positive, right? And then I looked at this, Tony, and then I was like, okay, well, what's happened to get us here this year? Because it's very interesting. I don't ever get a phone call with someone saying, "Hey, Rob, why are the markets up? Why do they keep going up?" I never get that. When it goes down, though, Tony, I get that.
Hang on. Hang on.
Yep.
I lost you. Hang on.
Yeah, you're frozen. There, you're back.
Hang on. I wonder if I bumped. Is that all the way in there? I wonder if they didn't plug that cord in on the way. It is. I don't know what happened. Okay. So you were saying, I think you were saying, we're back. So you were saying what's interesting is.
Yeah, what's interesting is these pullbacks and corrections are part of a healthy market, right? So I
Sure.
went back and I looked at this year so far, like where have we had any pullbacks or corrections? And from April 1st to 19th, we were down 5.5%. From July 16th to August 5th, we were down 8.5%. August 30th to September 6th, we were down 4%. So that illustrates that, what, we're still up 12, we're still up 23. These things are very, very healthy, and we need them. Now, like, we haven't seen any big corrections, market corrections. We're probably due on something like that. But these what they do, Tony, is they allow the markets to reset. They allow that you need these flush outs because you're working on price to earnings ratios that kind of get out of whack. They get expensive. When something gets expensive, it's not a good value. So who's going to buy it? So they tend to correct down to where they kind of should be. And I was kind of saying earlier is clients tend to call or email, when the market's going down. And they're wondering, hey, why is the market going down? And we're kind of explaining some of what we see today, but when it goes up, for months in a row, Tony, crickets. No one ever calls and emails me and say, Rob, why are the markets going up? Because you're kind of happy the markets are going up, and it's like, I don't want to know why. They're just happy they're kind of going up, and there's always, reasons for everything, but some of it is just the natural cycles of financial markets. And that's kind of what we saw in December when the drawdown of the Dow and part of the Dow, Tony, and the reason was 11 days in a row. If you remember, we had that tragedy in New York with United Healthcare, that CEO getting murdered.
Yeah.
Well, the Dow Jones is 30 stocks, and United Healthcare is one of them. And that has been down 20+%. So that pulls everything else down. As far as when you look at the whole index, if you look at Apple in that same time period, it's probably up, or even it's not down, So so you have to understand what's kind of underneath the covers too, because that definitely caused angst, with that particular company. So, but overall, Tony, I would say we've seen some bumps in the road, which is fine, but a very good year overall, and I think we're, people that invest money, long-term investors, they expect these bumps in the road. Some people that I work with, especially if they're newer, if they're just retired, what happens is when you're not retired, you don't pay attention to this stuff. The money goes in the 401k. Are you frozen?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just watching you.
I'm gonna tell you, folks, if you're not watching this, you got to watch it because, like, Tony looked like I looked like his screen was frozen. He was.
I was so intent in what you were.
I was rambling on, and I'm like, wait a second, is this guy frozen? But anyway,
that was great.
I totally forgot where I was at, but the point of it is as a long-term investor, you have to have these bumps in the road. And for people that are newly retired or coming into retirement, you tend to pay more attention to this stuff because now it means a lot to you. When you're putting money in 401ks, does it mean a lot? Yes, but you have a paycheck. So you're not really paying attention to it. It's doing what it's doing. And the reason your 401k is whatever balance it happens to be is because you didn't tinker with it, because you didn't panic, because you just let it kind of do its thing. And people have a hard time with that, Tony, when they get into that retirement side. They have a hard time of just letting it go because they're like, this is all I got, and
Right.
totally, I totally feel for them, on that. And then you kind of have to understand this is what brought you to the dance. And if you're planning on being retired 20 plus years, we're going to need to stay in the dance. You can't.
You've got to keep at least a portion of your money in growth. I
Right.
mean, you do need some in principal protection to pay the bills each month, but you also need that growth to continue because most people nowadays do live or spend at least 20 years in retirement. So you
For
have to
sure.
plan for that.
Yeah, and you might go deeper, like who knows? But you definitely planning on your dreams, your hopes, whatever you plan on doing in retirement. You can't stop it. At that point. And um, let's see. Looking into 2025, Tony. So we did have Mike Binger on, a few weeks back. So he gave us some good market insights, some market predictions. So folks, if you haven't heard that one, go back. It's a couple weeks.
It's a good one.
Really good one. Really good insights. Um, but I want to make people aware of one thing. So we saw this drawdown, and I did get some emails like, why is the market going down every day and things like that. But here's what we haven't had, Tony, since 2022 is we haven't had a 10+% market correction. And those happen historically one every 1.6 years. So every year and a half or so, we get one of these and we haven't had it, so we're
We
definitely
haven't had one since 2022.
right. So we're definitely due.
Yeah.
We're definitely due. And again, that's a natural part of the cycle. That's a natural part of the way markets, react. And we have a lot of stuff out there that could cause something like this, let alone, hey, we're not going to cut interest rates, more than 2 times or whatever they're predicting right now. And folks, that can change, by the way. They're taking current data. But I'm kind of hopeful it doesn't, because that means our economy is in great shape and people are doing their thing. And that means that unemployment probably stays low. We have never had a recession with an unemployment rate less than 5%. We're currently sitting at 4.1. So that's very, very healthy.
Yeah.
But again, you don't want these corrections, but they're a necessary evil if you want your account to go up. I'd rather go down 10% and then up 20, than what we're doing right now, just, chipping away. So be prepared for that. I think, at one point in 2025, this is my market prediction, Tony, I don't want to say it's baseless, but it's mine,
For what it's worth, it's your personal feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get one because we have a lot of headwinds going into
Mhm.
2025. And we mentioned some on the other show of things like we have a new administration coming in. They're going to have their views and what they want to do, right? And some of that's going to come with bumps in the road. We're going to have people that are in the cabinet that may or may not get in. They may not, get confirmed, and that'll cause some angst. And then there's a few wars still going on out there. That geopolitical stuff is always out there hanging in the balance. So you have to be aware of what's going on. We are, even though we're the US of A, the market is global. Even though our stock market may be right here, a lot of companies obviously are around the world. So if things happen, it affects different companies in different ways, right?
Right. Yeah. What happens in Europe and China, it affects companies like Apple. It affects companies, all of our major companies. So,
Right. And then, when
yeah.
we saw that during COVID, when a lot of these companies had factories in China and they all got shut down and they couldn't reopen. And that was the first time that they kind of saw, wait a second, we have some global risk, just where we're placing our factories. And
Right.
they had to diversify the way they make things, and a lot of companies did. They, moved them to Indonesia, still kept some China obviously in there, but they diversified. So if there's ever an issue again, they can still get products to consumers and they can keep their wheels running. Right. And we saw a lot of that there. So you never know what's going to happen out there, and all you can do really is have a proper plan in place, a retirement plan that addresses income, that addresses your midterm needs. If something comes up, I need a car, the roof goes, whatever, and then your long term growth, that you're going to need 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and if you put a well designed plan in place with a financial plan or a fiduciary like ourselves, you're going to see these bumps. But the other important thing, Tony, is that making sure you're meeting with whoever you're working with, at least a few times a year. And some of our clients that have more complex situations, it's 3-4 times a year. Some of them are quarterly. So the meeting and getting updated, that's critical. And then really you don't get panicked. When I talk about clients emailing me and panicking, that is very few, Tony. Of the hundreds of clients that I work with, I'm talking we may get 2 emails. So I'm kind of
Sure.
blowing it out of proportion, but I know a lot of other people that aren't clients listen to this show, right? So so if they're up to date and they're kept up to speed, and if you're a regular listener of the Ready Aim Retire show, we always kind of keep people up to date, and I think that takes the temperature down a little bit, because if you're expecting something to happen, like you're expecting a correction to happen, if it doesn't happen, great. But if you know that that's probably something on the horizon, you're not going to panic when that happens. You're
No.
not going to feel good. You may not look at your account, Tony, for a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks, but you're not going to go into panic mode or
Right.
whatever, right? So,
Right.
but all in all, I think the year, all in all, fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of, again, we've had a lot of different things happen this year. We got a new administration. We've had, we have this debt ceiling thing we're dealing with. We moved into this interest rate cutting cycle, in the fall, which we hadn't been in for quite a while. So there's always these moving parts, and it's our job to make sure that we're allocating our clients appropriately to deal with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Yeah, Rob, great show. Looking back on 2024 and a little look and prediction ahead.
Yeah. I
past
would also predict
performance
that we're going to get a Santa Claus rally. I think I said that earlier. Now, by the time this airs, Tony, the people are going to know whether I was right or wrong. But I predict that history will continue on. There was a time, I think in 2018, where that didn't happen, and it was kind of ugly right around Christmas. So let's hope that doesn't repeat itself. But
Sure.
Otherwise, it's usually we have a few good days going into Christmas. But and I want to say to you, Merry Christmas. Hope your family has an amazing holiday season. I know you're taking off for a few weeks. I know I'm taking off for a few weeks. So this is the last show of the year for us. So it's been a good one. We've done a lot of fantastic shows. And we'll just we'll do more and more come 2025.
Yeah, it'll be a great year, 2025. I'm looking forward to doing the show with you in the new year, Rob. And thank you for that. Merry Christmas to you and Natalie and Abby, the gang there, and at Advanced Planning. You guys do a great job and do so much for your clients. Have a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to all our listeners out there. Have a happy holiday. And that does it for today's episode of Ready, Aim, Retire with our host, Rob Kirvan.
All right.